What's up, everybody, and welcome into episode 21 of the H&M Trucking Podcast. As always, I am your host, Marcus, and I'm going to come right off the top here and be very honest with you. I sound a little different today. It was quite the weekend for me, okay? Went up to Tacoma, Washington, just south of Seattle, checked out a 2-day microbrew and punk rock festival, and saw one of my favorite bands of all time, NoFX, play the last show that they will ever play in Seattle. They're calling it quits after this year. They've been doing it since 1983. That's 1 year longer than I've been alive on this plane of existence. And let me just tell you, I came back with a lot of Tacoma on my body and in my lungs. Spent 2 days in the mosh pit, got really dirty, got really worn out, got absolutely baked alive by the sun. But no sunburns. I did bring back some kind of weird, lung infection with me. I've got a little bit of glarg going on in the throat, which is a word I just made up. So if I sound a little weird, like Tacoma karate chopped me in the throat, that's why. So I do apologize for that, but I'm not going to apologize for the fact that we have a phenomenal episode headed your way. Most of you will know this. Some of you that might be listening that don't work for H&M probably don't know this, but H&M is moving into, or by the time you hear this episode, will have already moved into their brand new office space. And this thing is a doozy, folks. Let me tell you, I only saw it when it was pretty much gutted. The space was ready for decoration, ready for finishing. You know, there weren't a lot of floors in there. The walls hadn't been painted yet. But what I saw was that this facility is absolutely massive. And I'm so excited to see the finished product the next time I get back to Omaha. That's what today's episode is all about. We're going to talk to the designers that helped put this whole thing together. We're going to talk to Dale Cook and James Fonda, company leadership, and we're also going to check in with Deanna from Driver Advocacy. We might get to a little bit of mandatory fun with Marcus a little bit later as well. So strap in, because we're going to bring you all of the content surrounding the new facility that we can. And I want to encourage you drivers. I know some of you probably don't get around the home office very often, but if you are, you have to stop in and take a look at this place. It will blow your mind. And I think it's a testament to all the great employees that work at H&M. They would not be able to do what they have done as far as expansion is concerned if it wasn't for all the employees and all the drivers out there putting the miles behind them and getting the loads from point A to point B safely and quickly with customer service that's unparalleled in the industry. So, without further ado, let's jump into it. It's episode 21 of the H&M Trucking Podcast, and we're talking about H&M's new front office.
From Omaha, Nebraska, to whatever lane you're driving, this is the H&M Trucking Podcast with your host, Marcus Bridges.
Next up here on the H&M Trucking Podcast is a very special interview. I've been waiting for this one all week because typically we only get to talk to people from within the H&M family, but we're branching out again this week. We're innovating on this podcast. We're always evolving. Please say hello to Courtney and Allie Weatherly from the Modern Hive Interior Design. You two are actually responsible for the way that the new H&M office is going to look. Thank you so much for being here today. Courtney, tell me a little bit about working with H&M and how this whole thing got started.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. It's really interesting. James is actually a personal friend of ours. My husband and him went to college together. I did too, but they were friends, and I just would kind of occasionally hang out on the side. And so over the course of time, we've become friends with his family. They have young children, similar in age to our children. And so hanging out with his wife and him, and he's like, hey, I have got this really interesting project. Don't know where it's all going to go, but I really want to make a really cool new work environment. I've got this space that I want to lease. Would you be interested? And so it just kind of took off from there.
That's awesome. And, James he's one of these guys that you can tell there's always something going on in his head. He's always planning something. And so it's cool to hear him think about it from before it ever gets started. I want to turn it into a really cool workspace. I only got to see it when it was kind of gutted and wide open. It's a massive space in there. There's so much room. What are some of the things that he wanted to bring to the environment?
Yeah, it's a huge space. He took Allie and I on a tour before we got started on the project. First National Bank here in Omaha. They have recently remodeled their business, their building. And so he took us through a tour, and they have really cool, innovative design features in that space. And one of the main things that he wanted to address was, I want the workspace to feel like an invitation to come to work. I want people to want to come to work, not just show up on Monday morning and, I'm here, I'm just going to do my job. He wants to make it an exciting place for people. And so I think that's what really intrigued us within the project, is because that's what we're all about as interior designers, creating a space that really makes a difference in people's lives. And that can absolutely be true in the workplace.
For sure. Now, Allie, how did you accomplish making it feel like an invitation to come to work? What were some of the things that you guys put in there? Maybe it's lighting, maybe it's artwork. What type of things did you put in there to try to make it welcoming?
Well, we started off with having with the wide open space, an open concept for all of the desks, so that everybody can kind of communicate with each other and see each other. And then we also have these little zones of lounge spaces that people can go and feel like it's a comfortable space to work, a booth or a comfortable chair that they can go and work in and have a meeting or anything like that. So those were some of the little spaces that we tried to incorporate, so that you're not just working at your desk or you're not just in your cubicle all day. You can kind of branch out, go to these different spaces and get a different view for the day.
And I understand that there's also quite a few more like conference rooms and things like that available than the last iteration of H&M's home office. Did you guys kind of go into H&M's home office as it sits today and look and see about things that you maybe wanted to bring over from there, or things that you wanted to leave? Or do you kind of look at this as like its own project, its own like organism?
I would say it was kind of its own new creation. There wasn't really much that we felt we could take from the original office to the new office. Would you agree, Allie?
I would agree with that. Yeah. And I think James also wanted to kind of make it a new environment for everybody to have a new experience.
Yeah. It's probably a good idea. I mean, it was funny in talking to some of the employees there. It's like every 7 years about they end up getting into a new spot because they're just growing so consistently. And the office as it sits now is cool. I like the way that you walk in and everybody's just kind of there. Like you could talk to any person that is involved with H&M just by walking in the door and like saying hi. But I think also maybe a little bit of compartmentalization might not hurt, because there's so much going on at once. Sometimes it gets a little bit loud in there. You bring a guy like me in there to start talking to people and all of a sudden nobody can hear anything. So I think that this new space is going to kind of break that up a little bit for sure. What are some of your favorite parts of the decisions you made as far as the design is concerned?
Oh, did we go first?
You can go first.
There's so many cool aspects and elements in this new space. It's really hard to pinpoint just one. But if I really had to pick...
You can pick more than one. If you want to rattle off a whole list of them, I'm here for it. I got nothing but time.
Okay, so I for sure think the conference spaces that we've created are really cool. There's one that's kind of a grand executive one that just, it feels really professional. It feels like an environment where James can talk to, like the big players within the job. And then there's other spaces like another little cozier conference room where, like, if you want to have a little bit more intimate conversation, you can go over there. I think that's probably another one of my favorite spaces. I think what I like about that space so much is that there's a lot of cozy elements in there. Allie and I did a really good job going through the different finishes in this space. There's like a cool tile feature wall. The ceiling's a little bit lower than the grand executive one. So it's, again, a little bit cozier. There's a really cool table in there that kind of reminds you of like a concrete finish. That room, I think, has a black accent wall, so that just kind of adds to the space. My other favorite zone is probably, honestly, like the area right out next to the focus rooms. I like that space a lot. The focus rooms, how would you describe those, Allie?
They're kind of like independent offices that anybody can utilize.
Yes. So I think what James initially wanted to do with that type of space, the focus rooms, was, if he has someone from like Bulldog who just wants to pop in randomly, who doesn't normally come into the office, they could like post up in that little room for the day and do some work.
So they lock from the outside is what you're telling me. So that he can lock me in there and know that I'm not going anywhere during the day.
You would be stuck. So, good luck trying to get out. You have to do your podcast there from the day.
Yeah, I'd be all right with it. Especially it sounds like a lot of thought went into the design. And I love hearing you guys talk about it because, let's face it, I'm not a designer. I'm so not skilled when it comes to this. I'm like a memorabilia collector. So you just find stupid things on my walls, just football stuff and concert posters and that type of thing. So I love hearing like this real intimate kind of design, like I guess thought process. And Allie, I feel like I cut you off a little bit, or excuse me, Courtney, I cut you off. But Allie, if you guys both want to just continue talking about your favorite parts, please do. I'm just excited about it. I haven't seen it in its finished state yet, so I'm kind of giddy. I do apologize.
You're fine. Allie, what's your favorite space?
One of my favorite aspects of this design is honestly when you walk in and the entrance, it's going to be so different. There's actually a space created that kind of feels like you're being invited into the space. And then there's a kind of reception area where there's going to be like sofas and chairs that you can sit in when you walk in. And what we kind of did was there's like an angle to the carpet that creates this really cool line that we matched with a ceiling detail. It's like a hanging wood planks. So the flooring is angled and then that ceiling plank is angled. And that creates this lowered ceiling aspect, and it creates a really cozy environment for anybody who's coming in, waiting to meet with James or anybody in the back. And it kind of creates its own space. And I just really love it because it's going to be some fun little pops of color for a chair and a really fun like velvet couch. So I think that's one of my favorite parts.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that kind of reminded me just a little bit when we initially started planning this out. James had, taken us through First National Bank, of course, but then he also said, if I could design anything, I think if it wasn't an object where like location didn't matter, I think I would design it to feel like very rustic and like mountain-esque. But obviously that doesn't really make sense for our location. So we kind of took some of those like ideas that he had with like the richer elements of like what you might see in like a rustic vibe type setting. And we tried to incorporate that into the space with, like Allie mentioned, like the velvet type textures and just some of the darker finishes with like the wood tones, the concrete looking floor. We actually even used I'm going to butcher this and I'm not going to think of the right term, but there's like a specific term for like the wood floor in the back of a trucking bed. So your truckers are probably going to be like, they know exactly what.
Oh, and I should know it too, and it's not coming to me at all right now. So don't worry. They'll take it out on me, as they should. I'm the one that should know this thing. So, but anyway, you kind of modeled it after the bed of a truck there.
We utilized that same flooring material that's in the back of a truck bed, and we put it on some floating shelving in the kitchen.
Oh, wow.
So we just tried to be really mindful and thoughtful of like what we were actually putting in there, taking what James wanted, taking the vision from like the First National vibe, taking like what actually trucking is all about, and trying to merge those all together.
Some of the industrial type feel as well, kind of pulling that into it.
Yes.
Is James overly picky? And please be honest with me. If he is,
no.
Because I'm going to give it to him, straight up. But no, was he easy to work with? He had kind of an open mind?
Very easy to work with. I think he, as any business owner, I can kind of relate to that, is that although he's interested in creating a really cool design space for people to come work out of, it's not his area of expertise. His area of expertise is running H&M, starting all these other businesses, making sure they're working well, just doing all the CEO things. And so there's very little time left at the end of the day to focus on like, how are we actually going to design this space? So he was really, really flexible and open to, you guys create the vision, put all the selections together, show me your best foot forward, tell me what you want me to do, and I'll either tell you I like it or I don't like it. And there were very few things that he didn't like.
Very cool.
Yeah. I think one of the things he was most picky about, though, was his own space and where he wanted to be.
Yes,
in
so
terms
true.
of like office layout. He didn't care about the finishes or anything like that, but he's like, I want to be in the middle of everything. I want to be in this specific spot. So we had to work around that a little bit.
Yeah, I imagine. I mean, he does sit right in the middle. And it's like sometimes I kind of feel for him a little bit because there's things coming at him from 360 degrees all day, every day. And he puts up with it very well, really. I mean, every time I've been in there, he's had a smile on his face. So it's like, man, apparently they either like you or they take it easy on you. One of the two. Like, I haven't figured it out yet. But
yeah.
So, I mean, would you say he's right dead in the center? Does he have an enclosed office, or is it open to all the other employees that are working around him, sort of like it is at the office as it sits right now?
I think it's kind of a mind shift to move to a space that's maybe a little bit more enclosed from what he's coming from. So it was kind of a challenge to get that mindset to change a little bit. And Dale was really the one who pushed him to create more of a private zone for himself. And so back and forth a lot on this, and what we ended up doing was we created a metal structure in the center of the room. There's two of them, so he's on one side and then the other side is like a lounge area, but this metal structure like creates that, I guess, boundary line saying like, hey, you're now walking into my office, but it's still very open. It's completely open. There's nothing shutting it off. So I think that was a pretty good compromise.
Yeah, and it is right smack dab in the middle of the entire building, like in the middle of everything.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So I heard some whispers about some really cool lights that went into the new space. Can you talk to me about that a little bit?
I'll let you take that, Allie.
Sure. Yeah, there are a few different places in which we kind of wanted to do some really cool modern light fixtures. One of them is the conference room, which I think is really cool. They are some LED. They're all like put together in just a weird format. So it's kind of, there's individual lights that create a pattern within itself that hang over the conference table, which is really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then in the space right outside of the focus rooms, right outside of that, there's kind of a lounge area. There's a TV and a communal table where people can sit and work. And above that is a geometric light fixture, also LED.
Paperclip?
It's black, and the lights kind of frame around those geometric features of it. They interconnect and they kind of interweave. And I thought that fixture was really, really cool as well.
That's awesome. Now, I don't want to sound like a complete buffoon because you were trying to describe something geometric, and I said paperclip. I was thinking because somebody mentioned to me that there was a kind of a paperclip style light in there. Were they just lying to me and trying to mislead me to make me sound like an idiot, or is that an actual thing?
No, it's an actual thing. It is in the more intimate conference room that Courtney was talking about earlier. There's a fixture that's over the table that kind of resembles a paperclip in a way. It's like an oblong. It's shaped exactly like a paperclip, only it doesn't have that like inner ring to it.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. All right. Well, at least they weren't misleading me completely, because they could tell me anything and I'll just grab it and run with it. That's kind of my job. Like, let's go talk about it. So I'm glad that actually exists within the space somewhere for sure.
It does. You're not going crazy.
Okay.
But there's also some sconces on the wall that look the same. So there are paper clips in there.
Okay. Very cool. Well, I love it. I mean, it sounds like there's so much to just kind of catch the eye as you walk through this space. And that's what makes something inviting. That's where you want to go. If every day for the first few months that you work there, you're going, oh, I didn't even notice that. Like, that's really cool. Whenever you jump into a new corporate position or something at a big building, that's the first thing that I do is I'm always kind of looking around, looking at design choices. I have no idea why they're made or how they're made. I just really like to look at them. So I think that's a really cool thing. Can you tell me, Allie, we'll start with you. What did you learn that you can carry on to your next big project from working with H&M on this new space?
Ooh, that's hard. I'm going to have to think about that. Courtney, if you have something right off the top of your head.
That's a really great question. And I think like the biggest thing I learned was that you can do it. Allie, you can do it. You can bust out really great ideas on a big project like this. And I think I learned that we can collaborate really well. And, we're just a small little design firm of myself, Allie. We have an admin. And so we're a really small firm. And so like taking on a big project like this, sometimes it's like, this is going to take a lot of work and that process. And I think we pulled it off really well.
Yeah, I think that kind of piggybacking off of that is that we definitely learned a lot more about how commercial projects of this size work so differently from kind of what our other residential projects kind of look like and how we have to organize them differently and kind of come at them and approach them in a different way. And there's a lot more collaboration with a bunch of different people between architects, general contractors, and the owners themselves, and trying to come up with the best solution for a lot of the problems that they want to like fix from their old space. So learning how to really come up with the best solution and doing it quickly, because things happen so fast in the commercial realm of design. And they're like, we want to be in the space by this time, which
Didn't
has been
happen.
an issue.
Yeah, right. I was going to say, I heard that there were some hiccups in that, and that probably wasn't your guys' fault. But that's there were some funny stories about we want to be in here by, and it's like, that seems to keep moving back by a month, about every month. So.
Yeah, things happen.
Well, also it was interesting too, because like Allie and I, we started working on this project, last year in August. And the expectation, I think, was that they would be moved in by April. And we barely even started the actual construction by April. But between all of that, I went on a maternity leave. I had my third child in January. And then I got back in, April?
I think it was March. Well, like halfway in March.
It was a week. I was back. And then Allie had a baby and went on maternity leave.
Oh, wow. Well, congratulations on both of your new additions to the families. That's awesome. But probably a little stressful with this job looming over, yeah?
A little bit, but I think we knew enough about it at the time when we were going on maternity leave. Like, we had already planned everything out. And from that point, it was just like managing the installations, managing the questions that came on the site. So it wasn't too bad, but it was just very interesting to work through that.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Well, this has been so cool to get like a peek behind the curtain of how interior design works. Let us know, and for everybody listening, in case you guys are in Omaha, I assume. Is that where you're located?
We are.
You are? Okay, so how can listeners find you if they maybe want to seek you out for some interior design work?
Yes, so you can check us out on our website, themodernhive.com. Hive is like a beehive. We're also on all the social media channels, Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, Twitter. Our handle is @themodernhive on pretty much all those.
Awesome. Go check that out. Check out some of the work there. And of course, as soon as we can get some, we'll have some pictures of the inside of that new space for H&M. Courtney and Allie, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me today. And if James ever gets you on another project, we'll for sure have you back on and have you talk about that one as well, okay?
Yeah, it's been fun. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye now. Next up here on the H&M Trucking Podcast is Executive Vice President Dale Cook from H&M Trucking. Probably should have put that in before I said your name, Dale. Sorry about me fumbling your intro, but thank you so much for being here.
You're fine, but intros don't mean a whole lot to me. So glad to be here. Glad to be here.
We always appreciate the time. Now, obviously, on this episode, we're talking about the new digs. H&M's got the new office. You guys are just about to move in. Talk to me a little bit about it. What are you excited about for the new office?
Oh, I think, anytime we have growth and change, we move into a new facility, having been here almost 29 years, I believe it's about every 7 years. It's like the 7-year itch. Because of growth, we continue to get to move on to bigger and better things. So yeah, it's we're pretty much doubling size from our previous office, which we've sort of done every time. Company started in 1987. I believe in 94 we moved into a larger facility. Then in 2001 we moved to the main yard when we bought our first permanent building with a shop. Then it was 7 years ago, 7 years after that, roughly, or 8 years, something like that. We moved to another facility that we'd outgrown that, and we moved part of our people, all the operational people, left our safety and shop in one spot. And then we came here about 7 years ago to the location you've been to. We arrived here about 7 years ago and wondered how we'd fill this place up. It seemed ginormous, of course. And now we're going to move into twice that square footage again. And, it's exciting, right? It's continued growth. It's sustainable. It's controlled. It's just been a lot of fun for us. And this new facility, I think some of the things we're really excited about, we're going to have more space. Right now we trip over each other a little bit. Finding a conference room that's open or even a quiet space to have a private phone call is very difficult because of our open environment. So this is going to give us lots of new opportunities to be more efficient in that environment. The other thing I think is that people are excited about it. It's kind of sharp. It's a nice joint. And we need to attract good young employees because with that work from home, kind of world that we live in, you're that guy, Marcus, right? You kind of work out of the house kind of thing.
Yep, absolutely.
People enjoy that freedom of being able to do their job from home. And you got to give them a good reason to come to the office, a nice place that they can call home, and it's a nice environment, nice and clean, kind of cool, so to speak. A little more modern type facilities, modern desks. It's going to be kind of neat. It's going to be kind of neat.
It is absolutely massive on the inside, and I only saw it when it was pretty much gutted and ready for all the new stuff to move in, and I just couldn't believe the amount of space because you're right. There are a lot of employees there, and you guys are kind of stacked on top of each other as it is. It's just going to give you guys that elbow room and really let you kick your feet up on your desk every now and then. But you also don't really strike me as a kick your feet up on your desk type of guy, Dale, to be honest with you.
Well, I like to lean back in my chair, but maybe my feet don't hit the desk. So
yeah, it's probably not a good look, for a guy in your position, I guess, when you really think about it. But you said something there that I really think is a good point, and that is attracting employees. You want to have a great work environment, someplace that you're excited to go to, and I just can't imagine being more excited to go to your guys' new facility because it is modern, kind of upfit to what you would expect out of a really high-tech office these days.
Yeah, I agree with you. And again, it's going to be a very pleasant place to go, but we're just moving the culture down to the other end of the building. That's the way I look at it. And again, if we have that right attitude, that people really, truly appreciate that. So
100%. So tell me this, have you gotten your desk packed up yet?
I may be procrastinating a little bit. I'm fairly proactive. I have cleaned out lots of things. James has chuckled at me. I'm a bit of a pack rat. And after 29 years, there's a lot of stuff that I pack ratted. He was most interested in a couple of items that I had, but they went all the way back to 1995 in my desk. And those were our actual profit and loss statement, our income statements from 1995. Wow. And he was kind of amazed. And we got to see the growth from a revenue standpoint where you looked back and for an entire year, we did the revenue that we do in less than a month now. And that just shows the growth we've had over time. So I've kind of been the company historian a little bit, with my length of time here and my having access to lots of things that have ended up in my desk drawer. We even found insurance rates, what we paid for insurance per employee on a sheet of paper from 1996. It was on a little spreadsheet that we'd done back then. And the cost of insurance for all of our employees for the entire year, including what they and we paid in both, was $24,000 for the year. That sort of covers maybe not quite 2 employees now for the year. Okay.
That's unbelievable.
So we have found lots of good things with me having, a little bit of a pack rat in me, a little bit of a historian. So.
For sure. Do you find it a little easier to keep records now that everything's digitized, or was it easier when you could just pull a slip of paper out and know where it was at?
Even for a guy my age, I've sort of kept up a little bit with the technology. So no, it's much easier now to pull up, a P&L from 2007. Everything was getting scanned in at that time, and there was a PDF of some sort. And but I did have all the records prior to that on paper. And if you'd see the stack of the size of that paper, you'd understand, oh, yeah, it's much easier to do it in electronic format. So,
absolutely. My very first job I ever worked, Dale, was I helped my dad out with some clerical stuff at his insurance company when I was very young. And all I remember was the amount of file cabinets in that building. It was unbelievable how many sheets of paper stack up. I mean, you could build a building out of the sheets of paper that he had. And I think it's really cool. I think it's a little bit more efficient, but at the same time, how cool would it be to have like an H&M museum where some of that stuff actually is out for people to check out? You guys keep growing at the rate you're growing. That might be a possibility in the future.
Yeah, we talked about keeping those things. In fact, they probably could be trashed. You don't need them for tax reasons or anything else. They're just about looking back at the history of the company. And, you prompted my mind with something else when you talked about the filing cabinets. I can remember in 2005, 2006, 2007, somewhere in there, and we had all these filing cabinets. You had a filing room, right? You had a whole wing of your building just for all your paperwork, from AR to AP to whatever. Uh-huh. But Mr. Miller, our CEO, Mr. Miller, I can remember at the time said, we're going to use those filing cabinets, but we're going to keep people's lunches in there. That's what we were going to use them for. So he was very foreshadowing of what would occur. So
that's so cool. Well, I can't wait to see the finished project. Very exciting stuff. And if you're listening to this, you're out on the road. It's worth a stop in Omaha to drop in and check it out. I know a lot of drivers probably don't get through there all the time, but it's going to be worth your time. No questions asked.
Agreed.
Dale, thank you so much for being here. That's Dale Cook, Executive Vice President of H&M Trucking. We appreciate your time as always, sir.
Anytime, Marcus. You bet.
All right, it's been a little while since we've brought you a freight market update, so let's get to that. This comes from an article from HDT Trucking Info. The article is entitled Analysts Rate Freight Cycle at or Near Bottom. That's not necessarily the best sounding title. You don't want to just jump into this article and be all excited about it, but let's break it down just a little bit here. Several leading industry reports point toward a freight cycle that has hit bottom or will soon. DAT Analytics report June numbers indicate the spot rate bottom has actually already happened. Freight markets have continued a downward trend according to the Cass Freight Index, which is based on the transactions processed by Cass. Its numbers indicate a year-over-year decline that started 18 months ago. According to the report, previous down cycles have lasted between 21 and 28 months. This is a quote from Tim DeNoyer, ACT Research's Vice President and Senior Analyst. He says, quote, while there may be capacity reduction in LTL soon, fleets are focused on retention despite record rate reductions, resulting in gradual rebalancing. He said the preliminary Bureau of Labor Statistics data set added 2,300 jobs in May, pointing out that some of that probably came from the owner-operator community, where net revocations of DOT operating authorities continue apace. He continues to say the trajectory of spot rates has changed in the past couple of months, and we think demand fundamentals are likely to improve from here as we pass the worst of the destock. So more freight market dynamics are in store down the road. With respect to truckload volume, the DAT Truckload Volume Index reports volumes held steady in June, with van down 1% from May, reefer down 3%, and flatbed up 2%. The national average van load-to-truck ratio was 2.6 compared to 2.5 in May and 3.9 a year ago in June 2022. With respect to spot rates, DAT reports the flatbed spot rate was down 4 cents in June, but the reefer and van rates increased 3 cents each. For the spot van rate, that was the first increase in 5 months. So, I try not to have these things go from bad news to worse news to even worse news. And honestly, with this article in particular, that's a little bit tough to do. But what I will say is at the very front where we talked about being at or near the bottom, you're 18 months in, they see between 21 and 28 months on these down cycles. However, we've already seen what they believe to be the bottom of the spot rate spectrum. So that means there's only one way to go, and that's back up. Hold strong, drivers. I'm telling you right now, this is something that I've heard, and I've mentioned this on the podcast many times before. I've heard it from multiple industry leaders, industry experts, analysts, you name it. They all pinpointed August as the time that they thought things were going to turn around. Now, that's a lot like me standing at a roulette table and saying, I think it's going to land on black. But I guess the upside of that is that there's only two options. We can continue the way that we've been going, or we can turn it around and head the other direction. We want it to go up and to the right, and that's what we've got our fingers crossed here at the H&M Trucking Podcast for. Anytime I see something like this, I will definitely update you on it. And once again, make sure that you contact us via the H&M Trucking Facebook page or any of our ads that you see when we're plugging the podcast. We got a picture up there. There's a comment section. I read every single one of them. I want to hear from you. What do you think? What do you see? And what, even more importantly, do you want to hear from me on this podcast? That's your Freight Market Update. I'm very excited right now because somebody that sits in on every single recording of this podcast from start to finish that you don't hear very often, we reference him from time to time as our audio ninja. He is my audio producer, Mike, and he is going to join me for this segment. Mike, what's up, brother? Thanks for being here.
Hey, what up, cheese bags? Oh, man, that felt so good to say that. That was really fun. No, what's up?
Doing great, man. So glad to have you for this segment. Yes. I wanted to come up with like a list, like a top 3 list of destinations. Where would you stop if you had a cross-country trip? You had a couple of maybe 34s along the way, and you could spend a day someplace and really take it in. The entire United States is kind of your apple, and you just get to eat it.
Well, being here in New York State, and not New York City, but New York State, thank you very much. There's a difference between upstate New York and the city, New York City. I had to kind of put my mindset into it because I've only been on the East Coast myself. I have not gone further than probably slice the country in half. So I try to figure out 3 different ways that I would enjoy myself. Food, fun, and then mental health, me time.
Got it.
So I'm starting out. Yeah, I mean, I've got some weight on me. Let's start with food.
Okay.
My go-to stop, if I had some time for him to do so, I would stop in Memphis, Tennessee. I have a specific joint I went to one time with my wife. We were doing a full road trip across the U.S. It was great. And have you ever had an item called rib tips before?
Yes, I have had rib tips, and they are phenomenally underrated, in my opinion.
Oh my goodness.
It's meat candy. It just melts in your mouth.
It's exactly what it is. And we stopped at this place. We found it on like the whole best thing I ever ate with Guy Fieri. So it's like Flavor Town, what have you. And we heard about this place and we did a road trip and we were like, oh man, we need to stop there. It was called Tom's Barbecue and Deli. Probably not a sponsor of the podcast right now, but who knows?
Call us.
It was literally like nuggets of beef jerky, but baby back ribs, but prime rib, but it was like a pepperoni. It was the most delicious thing ever. So that is at least, if I can jump around about it, where I'm stopping for the food.
Okay.
So that's how I'm. Do you have options of what you would do on your reset there?
Yeah, I do. My first stop, because this is why I thought it would be cool to have you on. You're coming from the opposite side of the country. I'm over here in the Pacific Northwest. My first stop is going to be a place that I've never seen that I feel like I should have because I've been close to it, and that's the Grand Canyon.
Ooh.
I've got to see that before I get too old to appreciate it. You know, we have a lot of canyons and big river valleys here in the Pacific Northwest and mountains and everything. We actually have the deepest canyon here in Oregon / Washington / Idaho, which is Hell's Canyon. But the widest canyon is the Grand Canyon, and I've got to see it, man. And just to touch on your rib tips, I had them at a food truck here in Eugene called Barbecue King, and unfortunately that man has passed away. But he was from the South, and he served them on just a piece of like white Wonder Bread. He just throw that in the bottom, put the rib tips on top, a little bit of sauce. Oh my God, so good. Where's your second place?
Second place, I'm going to go for more of like a take on a town, but not feel like you're absorbed by a giant city. Like you want to experience kind of like New Orleans, but not be on Bourbon Street where you can get assaulted by who knows what on who knows what. So, and it's going to sound a little weird because we actually met right around this town when we finally met in person, going to Pensacola, Florida for my fun and escape. Because it has that big city feel where you can bar hop, but it also feels like a small connected town. And it always made me like, I've been there multiple times, but it's also right on the Gulf of Mexico, which is near and dear to my heart. Of just being able to reset to me is being able to see the water and just chill, but also know that you've got 4 or 5 pubs that you can go to for a good burger, a good beverage, and then just go back and chill by the water. If I could reset, if I could move, I don't know what I'm doing in upstate New York. Like, I got to talk to the other sides of the family here and say, we got to make choices because that's my number 2. Got to.
Well,
Pensacola.
I have to mention that when we were in Pensacola together, my flight left right after we got to the airport, and you had like 8 hours to just bebop around town. And I will say, you did not seem disappointed about it. You were like, man, I mean, if I have an 8-hour layover anywhere that has to do with flying, I'm not all about it, but I also am more just tend to kind of stay at the airport and just eat that time.
Sure.
You went out and enjoyed Pensacola and seemed to really enjoy it.
Honestly, and to steal a phrase from you, if I could bottle that 8 hours, oh man, I would take a sip of that 8 hours. Anytime you're feeling stressed about work, sip of Pensacola.
There you go. There you go. Pensacola. I love it.
TM. What about you?
I'm going to tip it north a little bit and head up to the great state of Ohio for my second stop. I am going to Canton. I am going to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I am going to soak in the history there. Never been. I've been to one football museum, and it's the museum at Levi's Stadium that is a 49ers museum. And of course, you can't see it on the camera, but I'm surrounded by 49ers memorabilia. I'm a diehard fan. And I was like a kid in a candy store in that place. I felt like I was standing next to Jerry Rice the whole time, which is my dream. So, definitely stopping by the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Have you ever been?
I have never been, unfortunately, even though it's one state over. But as a Ravens fan, I do apologize for the Super Bowl experience that you may have had in your history. So
figured that was coming. Anyway,
number 3.
On to the next.
So fun and escape with Pensacola is great because it feels like you're in the city. Getting the rib tips is fantastic because you're feeding the belly, but now you need that mental health breakaway. And I think it's an extension from number 2 for me. And as opposed to going to Pensacola, where it is more of a city vibe, going to the Outer Banks for a reset. This is an East Coast kind of thing, so I do apologize, but going to the Outer Banks, North Carolina, to where you go so south on those islands that it feels like nobody else exists, is just so refreshing for the mind, and being like, that breath, that sigh, to be able to have that sigh is just such a good feeling for me. I do it once a year with the family, and something about not having or just being able to say, here we are. Life's good, man. It's so fun. It's so good. So that's my number 3. I got to go with that. Sorry. It's cheesy,
okay. I mean, don't apologize. It's just that we didn't get you west of Memphis, Tennessee. So we still haven't solved this problem of cutting the United States in half and having Mike be on the right side.
I have never seen the Pacific Ocean. Okay.
We'll make it happen sometime.
Yes. What about you? What do you got for number 3 there, brother?
I'm actually continuing east, but I am going to head south and east because for me, you said I want a place to reset. I want a place to go and eat, and I want a place to, kind of just enjoy. Same thing for me. The reset for me, the kind of mental clarity would be the Grand Canyon for sure. Pro Football Hall of Fame, I'd get to learn something and maybe enrich myself a little bit. and now it's time to party. I'm headed to the Daytona 500 down in Daytona, Florida, if I can. I want to, I've been to NASCAR races only in Las Vegas.
Yes.
And it's a party in Las Vegas, don't get me wrong, but nobody can party like they can party down at Daytona. So I'm going to check out the Daytona 500 if I can ever get down there. That's got to be number 3 for me.
Man, you're hitting big ones with the Canyon and the Daytona. Get it, dude? That's awesome.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm I probably very much so underestimate how tired and beat up I would be after making that cross-country trip. But if I could do all that in like a week, I mean, that might rank as the best week ever,
Buddy road trip. We'll record a podcast together while we do it.
I love it. I love it. Mike, I really appreciate you joining me, dude. We got to get you on here more. Thank you so much for being here for this segment. And I'll see you, although the listeners might not. You can know he's here. He's always listening.
What's up, y'all? Thanks, Marcus.
Deanna from Driver Advocacy joins us now on the H&M Trucking Podcast. Deanna, as always, thank you so much for being here.
It's an absolute pleasure. Always.
It just warms my heart to hear you say that every week. I'm pretty sure that you're not lying because I'm looking at you. I can see you right now, and I don't see like dishonesty on your face. I think that you actually might like this.
I truly do. I 100% do. I'm not even making that up. And I'm a horrible liar, so you would know.
Well, let's play poker sometime. What do you say? Let's sit down and play some cards,
God,
huh?
You would wipe me out. I know. You dead broke.
You know what? We do this at the end all the time, so let's go ahead and switch it up. Let's talk about your hours real quick. When can they talk to you? And just, I feel like it's been a while since we've done like a good reset on what Driver Advocacy actually offers. So tell me about Driver Advocacy real quick, hit your hours, and then we'll get to your tip.
Yeah, so Driver Advocacy is a really cool program. Initially, when we started the program, it was kind of focused on orientation drivers, like straight out of orientation, kind of checking in on them, making sure that, I know orientation kind of is quick and they're in and out. And so that they just get on the road, and sometimes they have questions when they're actually doing the job. So it was important to H&M that they kind of track what's going on with them and just do check-ins periodically, once a month, 3 times a month, just to make sure that they're getting everything they need. But now it's kind of turned into more like even talking to a lot of experienced drivers and just checking in on them, making sure they're doing good, seeing how their day is going. It's a good time to just chat or vent if they need it. So yeah, it's kind of I get as much out of it as they do. So I'm super happy, and I learned so much talking to these drivers. And it's a great program. I think everyone should adopt a little bit of the Driver Advocacy program in every job, because it is nice to talk to somebody that's not directly your company. So
absolutely, and like every good program, it evolves, and it's cool to hear like the evolution of how it started to what it is now. So when can they talk to you?
Yeah, so I am Eastern time, so I'm 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then I work 3 hours on Sunday, 3 p.m. to 6 p.m.
And now Deanna's quick stop tip of the week on the H&M Trucking Podcast.
I look forward to this every single week. What have you got for us?
Okay, so it's like the end of July, and I've noticed that the weather is insane in certain places in the world, like talking like hundreds plus. So I thought it might be a good idea just to kind of go over some driving tips for truckers during the summer when it's scorching outside, because I know I just went on a road trip and my AC didn't kick in for a good like 30 minutes because it was so hot that I was like,
wow,
man, should I recharge my AC? Like, what's going on? And then I'm like, oh no, it's hot as HE double hockey sticks outside. So
it's hot as balls. We can say that here. Eve's not on this episode, so we're getting away with it.
Yeah, exactly. Hot as balls. I love it. So some things that I always do before I go on a road trip, and sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't. Use sunscreen. I know that it's a pain in the ass. Sometimes they have the spray kind where you could just mist your face and it gets like at least 30 SPF sunscreen. But there's actually a photo out of a driver that literally one side of his face is just all wrinkles because he had his face like towards the window versus inside the cab. And it's drastic. Like, it's like wrinkles versus like our skin. Like, it's crazy. Okay, so wear your sunscreen.
Skin, all right. You just don't have a high enough quality picture of me to see the wrinkles. That's the they're definitely there. But it's a good point, and because just last weekend I took a trip, and it's funny you mentioned how long it took your AC to kick in. I was about 3.5 hours on the road one way, and my AC compressor is gone, and so I had to drive with the windows down the whole time. And I like it. I like the Pacific Northwest wind blowing through what hair I have left. And when I got to my destination, I was like, I'll throw on a tank top. I'll keep it nice and cool in the cab. My left side, face, ear, neck, shoulder, all the way down to my forearm was absolutely scorched. I did not even think about sunscreen before I got into the truck. So it's a really good tip. If you're driving with the window down, you got to protect your skin. Skin cancer is a real thing, and you don't want to mess with it.
Absolutely. Another thing I really wanted to touch on was dehydration. I know it's so hard to drink your water. I'm a sody girl. I love some sody. Like, I'll take a Dr. Pepper any day. And it's really hard. And even like just regular water, I either put lemon in it or like flavoring or something, because I think regular water is so boring. But to stay hydrated, that is the hardest thing, especially when you're in and out of the truck. You don't realize you're dehydrated until you are. So I looked up some symptoms for dehydration. Obviously feeling thirsty, like to the point where you feel like you're walking in a desert and you're like, water. Another thing is, this might be gross, but if you're peeing less often, it's another dehydration tip. If you're feeling dizzy or lightheaded, that's scary, especially if you're driving. Also, It can make you feel really tired. Another sign that, hey, I might want to pull off and get some ice or some water or something in my system. Or like a Gatorade where, you have the electrolytes that can refill you back up and get you from not being dehydrated. That's kind of the scary thing for sure, for like feeling lightheaded and dizzy and tired. Those are not things you want a trucker to feel. Like, that's not it. So
yeah, 100%. And it is, like you said, it's a little gross, but let me just put just a quick picture on it. If you're peeing Mountain Dew, you need water.
Exactly.
All right. You want it to be clearer, not dark, not bright. Like it should be, just what do they say? A pale yellow, and not to be gross or anything like that, but it is a way that you can track that. And if you're a sody person as well, even if you're drinking the zero sugar stuff, that's a great health decision that you're making to cut all that sugar out. But one thing that goes overlooked for a can of soda is there is quite a bit of sodium in it. And if you're piling those things on all day, you can kind of dehydrate yourself just through what you're already drinking, even though it might be at its core, mostly water. But it's not really hydrating you like a good old glass of boring H2O.
Yeah. And I like I said it before, I have the problem with that too. Like, I have to constantly I even have a thing on my watch that'll tell me you need to drink water. Like, you only had this many ounces of water a day. Go grab some water. Because I'm notoriously bad for drinking water. But I think, being out on the road, like you said, with the windows down in some cases, or, you don't realize it until you're like, wow, I really feel bad, and I probably should pull off and get some water and make sure I'm doing what I need to do for my body, because we're 80% water, like we need it to survive. So just making sure those truckers are out there, drinking their water.
And that's exactly why we have you on this show every single week, Deanna. Anything else for your tip before I hit your button again?
That was it. Yeah.
And now Deanna's quick stop tip of the week on the H&M Trucking Podcast.
Seeing you do a little wiggle dance to that button every single week just keeps me in it, Deanna. I'm going to be honest with you. Great stuff from you today. Thank you so much for being here. We'll check in with you next week.
That sounds good. Thank you.
Next up here on the H&M Trucking Podcast is President of H&M Trucking, James Fonda. I know you're a busy man today because it's moving day, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Yep, you get your 2 minutes or 5 minutes.
And the stopwatch is running. I understand. Talk to me about your excitement level. It's finally here. Does it feel like it's taken forever to get to this point, and how stoked are you on it?
Leading up to it, I was kind of just over the project, just trying to, it's just not something I wanted to drag on this long. But it was exciting to see everybody. I got a little bit more re-energized when I saw everybody's excitement when they walked in the door and got moved in. And you can just tell, you can just like feel the energy in the air. So there was definitely some positivity to that. And it was like, okay, that was a little gratifying.
So I talked to Dale a little bit about this. Talk to me about what do you think this gives the company as far as just the employees that work there? What do they get out of this new facility?
Well, the last one reminded me of just like a call center. You've seen it. So, and when they moved into that spot, it was at the time Randy was considering selling the company, and that's when I kind of felt it, and that's when I actually ended up making the switch from my dad's company to my father-in-law's company. So this now has more of a permanent effect. You walk in, they'll do. We're going to hire a receptionist. It's not just as we've grown the van department, it was kind of just whoever's at the door, just letting people in. So we'll kind of keep that. But I think same with trying to keep that like familiarity. So as a receptionist, so we know who's the building, but also so we know what drivers are in. And so I don't know every single driver, but I would like to say hi, Dave or whoever I'm speaking to. I'd like to know who's the building so I can go up and say hi, and everybody else knows who.
Sure.
Also, it'll help us with when I started almost 6 years ago, when I told them, I said, we're going to do orientations more than 2 or 3 people, you thought I was like pulling teeth. So we've really grown quite a bit. And then we started to get 5 to 8 person in orientation levels, and as we kept growing, and then now we moved as trucks are available, we do our Monday and a Wednesday orientation. Again, right now we're kind of tight on trucks, so it's limited back to 1. But as that opens up again, we'll flow. This will help us easily flow to a Monday, Wednesday type orientation, and it'll be able to easily accommodate doing vans and hopper drivers alike, and not being too stressed on space, because where my desk was, right in the middle of the office, which is still in the middle of the office, but now I'm not in a cubicle where I was everybody else. So if I ever had to take a call, I basically had to go take a conference room. So you only have 2 conference rooms, it cracks down on space pretty quick.
100%. So you did change it up a little bit, because that's always something I've been just amazed at. It seems like a brave and bold move of you to put yourself right in the middle of the cubicle world with everyone else. You're just kind of out there for everyone to reach for at any time. Is there like a partition now? Is there something that separates you from everybody? Or are you still pretty much right in the middle?
Well, I'm not like directly in the cubicle. I actually tried to, and Dale told me that I needed my own space. so basically, I'm literally in the center of the building. So, and I wanted to be able to keep that. And also, I wanted to be able. Then they're like, okay, we'll put glass around you. And I said, no, we're not putting glass around me. I want to be able to hear what's going on. I'm like, nope, not tucking myself away. The bosses' ears will still be here.
Yeah, putting glass around you makes it a little bit of a zoo exhibit, too. Like, that's not really what you're going for.
Right. Oh, look at him. Yeah. Oh, look how cute he is.
Tapping on the glass. Like, hey, don't tap on the glass. You can buy something out of the vending machine to feed him, but don't tap on the glass.
He prefers scotch and...
Well, it was really cool. We got to talk to the designers, Courtney and Allie, a little bit, and it just, I'm sad that I didn't get a chance when I was in Omaha last time to run in there. I know we were planning on it, and then Grant grabbed me and whisked me out of the building to my next meeting, but I can't wait to get in there and check it out. It sounds really cool and really modern, and just I can imagine that employees would want to go to work there, and that's kind of one of the thoughts behind it. Yeah.
Not want to be like literally just be there. Like when they go, a lot of people would want to leave for lunch, which I think they'll still do. But now there's a nice area for lunch. It's like there's TVs everywhere that we can project either sports on, or we can put on. We're gonna hook up another computer. We wired them all in for the software. We can put up whatever stats or anything that we want on there. But it'll make you kind of forget where you're at a little bit. So when you walk out, you're like, oh yeah, I'm still in South O. There's nothing wrong with South O, but it's not like it's not like West Omaha. So you kind of get dazed and confused a little bit that you're in the La La Land a little bit.
Sure.
We had a driver that walked in this morning right when we started. He came up to me. He's like, "Wow, James, this is really cool." And I said, "He's like, you did a good job." And I was like, "Okay." Like that was a little gratifying because I was definitely nervous about the switch. Just like, was it too much? Was like, will it be like, will people feel uncomfortable? Will they feel like I want to still feel that culture, but it definitely achieved that. So it'll be great. And I can't wait to start having bigger orientation. Like for the next few months, we're limited to 3 orientations a week because of the trade process. So it'll be nice when all of a sudden you see, once we can add trucks, more trucks, and see a full class go through. It'll be fun.
That's awesome. Well, I know you've worked really hard on the culture. The whole company has. It's evident every time I'm in there, every time I talk to people. It's a company that people love working for. I know that there's a lot that goes into that. And I just want to say congratulations on the finished product. And thank you for carving some time out between moving boxes into your new digs. Really hope you enjoy it. And we'll get you back on here in the next couple of weeks and see how everything's shaping up.
All right. Later, bud.
Thanks. That's going to wrap up episode 21 of the H&M Trucking Podcast. Big thanks to Deanna, to Dale Cook, to Courtney and Allie from the Modern Hive Interior Design, of course, to President of H&M, James Fonda. And I got to thank my audio ninja Mike for joining me and telling me where his top 3 destinations to stop at if he had 34 hours to burn would be. You know what? I'm surrounded with some amazing people working for this podcast, for this company. I absolutely love it. Can't tell you how happy I am to get to work with H&M Trucking. I don't want to dote on him too much, all right? I don't want to make James feel too good, but this has been a really fun episode, a little bit different than former episodes. We're talking about, new office digs and interior design and travel destinations. Look, maybe I can moonlight as like a travel influencer, okay? Put me on the road, give me a budget. I'll give you all sorts of fun content. I can get into some trouble in all 50 states in the union, all right? Little bit of homework before we take off. Make sure to hammer that subscribe button. Hammer down on that subscribe button. Share this with your friends. Every time you see something go up on Facebook, on the H&M Trucking Facebook page or the H&M Friends and Family page, you can interact with us. I read all of that stuff. Hell, sometimes I'm even the one that posts it. So if you've got something you want to hear, if you're a driver that wants to come on the podcast, please let me know. Either reach out to me there or talk to Deanna from Driver Advocacy. She's another one that just gives me all that information immediately. We love it. I love it. It's always good for the show. And what else is good for the show? Sharing it with your friends and subscribing so you know every time a new episode hits. I promise you next week I won't sound like I went 3 rounds with Tyson. I'm a little bit stuffy still. The throat's starting to feel better. Gonna get some rest over the weekend and bring you an amazing episode of the H&M Trucking Podcast next week. Until then, stay fresh, cheese bags.
Thank you for listening to the H&M Trucking Podcast. Please leave a review, subscribe, and connect with Marcus over at the H&M Trucking social media channels. And if you're considering a job at H&M, find us at hmtrucking.com. Until next time, stay safe and ahead of the curve drivers.